From just a horse trainer aspect, though, it's hard to make a good living just off the monthly income part of it.
I think the only reason we ride numbers is to look for the next good one.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I was wanting to play high school football and go do other things. I wanted to be a cutting horse trainer, and I wanted to learn how to do that.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show, and today we have Kody Porterfield back on, and his business partners and fellow cutting horse trainers, Matt Miller and Tarin Rice. We already know Kody's story, so he's just going to kind of be a co-host moderator guy. But Matt and Tarin, I want to go first kind of into y'all's backgrounds, and then we'll get into like the business side and the training side and the 817 horse sales side of things. But Matt, if you'd start kind of where you came from.
Yeah, so I grew up in Arkansas. My dad always had cutting horses since I was little. Kind of took a break from it for a little while. When I was in junior high, around that time, got back into cutting horses pretty heavy, and I fell in love with it. Like I couldn't get away from it. So right after high school, I moved to Texas, to Millsap, and I was an amateur and learned under Tim McLeod and a couple other really good horse trainers, Clint Allen, Lloyd Cox, and kind of just felt my way through it as an amateur, and then became a non-pro, kind of started training my own horses, and won the non-pro fraternity, and then not long after that, I became a professional trainer.
What was it that, I mean, in Arkansas, is there many people that cut up there? Or?
Not a lot, and it's gotten less over the years. So we grew up not far from Memphis, like on the very eastern side of Arkansas. My dad's business was located right outside of Memphis, and Pat Earnhardt, he was probably 30 minutes from there, and he's still like a legend to me. My dad went down there and rode with him every day. Like he'd go there and then he'd go back to work. And so that was kind of how we got into it. And my dad's whole family were farmers, rice farmers, soybean farmers. So we kind of had the Western way of life, but in Arkansas, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking like how you got hooked to it. But I guess if your dad was doing it every day, I mean, he's going to drag you along.
Oh yeah.
You're going to like it.
I went to a bunch of little shows when I was a kid. I never really showed any. Went to Batesville, Mississippi. That was the first time I showed. I had a turnback horse that I just rode around and got in everybody's way the whole time. They didn't have enough entries to make some extra points for the class. And so the guy there that owned the facility just rode up to me and said, "What's your horse's name?" I said, "This is Mac." He said, "All right, you and Mac are last in this set." And I rode down there and Mac jumped right and I went left, and I was in the dirt, and some kid got a bunch of points that day, though. That wasn't me.
Kelly Earnhardt, wasn't it?
Probably. Yeah. Probably so.
So you're just hooked from early age.
Yeah, and then, like I said, after high school, I was coming out to Texas all the time to show, and actually came out for the Super Stakes and had planned on showing and going back home to, I guess, try to pursue my lengthy career of college that lasted about a semester. And I just didn't go back. I ended up staying, working horses, and I think the next time I went back, I got all my stuff and moved back to Texas permanent.
Did you ever see anything else, or are you just like, it's just going to be cutting horses?
Just cutting, yeah. I mean, I knew some team ropers, and kind of as the years went on, got to know more cow horse guys and stuff like that. But I was, just.
Did you
horses.
see yourself doing anything else for a living though? Like when you got out of high school, you're like, maybe go get a job or something.
No, I was real confused when I got out of high school. I didn't have a lot of ambition to do anything actually.
Yeah, just gonna hang out and ride horses.
Pretty
Not
much
much has changed.
Did you? I think like I see, and y'all know now that y'all have assistant trainers and hire help and stuff, but like a lot of those people don't get paid a whole lot, but I'm sure you're learning a lot. Did you did you realize that you could soak all that knowledge up and then eventually go out on your own?
Yeah.
A mastermind has the sole purpose of getting you further, faster, and that's exactly what we're doing with the Wealthy Cowboy Show Mastermind. It is for the person that's ready to start out building their business or someone just looking to get their business to the next level. We will have live Q&A calls that you can ask past and future guests questions that relate specifically to you. You'll also hear ideas and be able to network with people that could open you up to a completely different way of thinking that could change your life. Click the link below if you're looking to go to the next level in business and in life.
So I was fortunate enough. My dad owned a place in Millsap, and Tim McLeod was training out of that facility. And so every day I was his turnback guy. Like, I just turned back for him every day, and I got to watch him learn a lot. I had a little group of horses there that Tim was training, and he would always kind of give me pointers and get me started on them. And eventually it became, just a challenge of it. I loved it. So I wanted to try to make every horse as good as I could. And it was my daily routine was like trying to go out there and become better. So once I started kind of absorbing some of that, I bought a horse from Clint Allen, and left it in training with him. Well, then I started kind of going and watching his program, and I did the same thing with Lloyd Cox, which are two of the, I still think, greatest horse trainers alive. But it taught me a lot, and I got some diversity there of different programs and kind of what applied to me, that like what I felt comfortable going forward with. And the longer it went, the better I became with it. And it was just, like I said, the challenge of it, like going as a non-pro and training my own horses was a lot of fun, and was making pretty good money doing that. I got married, and my wife is also a non-pro, and it becomes a time where you're sharing horses. And so I kind of had to go to the open and let her have the non-pro.
Pushed you out?
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the mindset there to go from a non-pro to open? Was that a big change or?
Huge change. I wanted to do it because I wanted to ride better horses. I couldn't afford I can remember when I was a non-pro, all I wanted was a highbrow cat. Everybody else was doing great on them. I couldn't afford one. I did finally buy one, and I was still in the non-pro, and I made the open futurity finals on him as a non-pro. That was kind of what let me forward into, I'm going to go to the open. A lot of guys told me I was stupid for it, because why, you're making good money in the non-pro and learning a lot more. And I felt like I needed the challenge to push me. I didn't want to stay kind of where I was and just get stagnant with it. It's a big leap, though. It's definitely a whole different world, because now you're dealing with other people and their horses and not just your own. It's easy to ride for yourself, but once you start riding for the public, it's a little more challenging.
Yeah. I talk about that with Shady. I'm like, she wants to protect that non-pro, and I'm like, no, just like start doing it for the public, and you can get better horses and just open a whole new world up. It's going to present more challenges, but I think it's, you're playing in a different game, and you can go, if you go do decent against those top guys, you got something. Whereas if you stay in a smaller pool, and you're never going to be at the top. You can be at the top of the non-pro, but you're not the top of the open.
Yeah. Well, I think like I said, it pushes you to be better. And when I made the open futurity finals as a non-pro, Tommy Mannion came up to me and said, "Hey, if you ever turn your card in, call me. I'll send you a horse." And that was huge for me. I was like, wow, somebody, a public person, a public customer, not just my people or my family, is wanting to send me a horse. And that kind of grabbed my attention. And Tommy was the first person I called, and he had some great horses back then with all the best trainers. He sent me a little mare. I ended up third at the futurity the next year on her, and that kind of really jump-started my career.
Yeah. Well, that was cool. You kind of already had that belief in yourself, and your first customer kind of lined up there.
Yeah. No, it was a cool experience for sure.
Tarin, you kind of had a similar background. You raised your whole life in it. on a different level though, and the Rice name is like synonymous with training horses. Kind of talk about your background and growing up.
So, like you said, the whole family's horse trainers. So, we grew up with dad training horses every day, and it was just really all we did. My grandparents there in the Panhandle, they farmed and ranched, so we did that type of stuff too. But the cutting horses always came first. I quit going to school in 7th grade and started homeschooling, basically because we wanted to ride more and have more time to do that. And by the time I was getting done with school, it was pretty well decided that, I'm just going to be a trainer. And I showed in the non-pro for about 2 years, and I got married when I was 19 and started training horses for the public.
And I think I would bet that Matt lived as far from Fort Worth as you did living in the Panhandle. I bet it's almost the same amount of hours.
6.5 hours.
Yeah, close.
What was that like for you? I mean, you'd seen your family do it, train horses for a living. Was that a big change for you to take that leap to go from non-pro to?
No, because I didn't show. I showed a lot in the youth, but as a trainer's son, you're not eligible to show in the amateur. And I only showed in the non-pro for, a couple of years for the same reason that Matt was saying. It's hard to afford the horses. So, Dad bought me a couple, and we kind of tried to train and then trade around on them and stuff like that. And it's just really hard to get horses that are good enough on the trainer's salary, and being the trainer's son, it's just hard to have those. So, if we ever wanted to show anything, it was going to have to be in the open. It's going to need to be owned by somebody else, So, like I said, I got married at 19, and Dad, he asked me one day, he's like, "You thought anything about how you're going to make a living?" And like I said, we've been trading some horses and just kind of doing it that way and making a little bit of money. But I'm like, "Well, no, not really." And he's like, "Well, you're going to need some steady monthly income instead of just hoping you sell one or two a year, And he said, "Listen," he said, "I've got a group of horses. There was like 12 of them that just came in." He said, "They all need shown." He said, "Turn your card in. You can go to Abilene. You can take all these things, and you're not going to get many checks, but they need shown, and you know how to show. Just go start doing it." So me and Katie hopped in the truck, and we took 19 head of horses to Abilene, and we took one helper and us two. And we showed for like a week before the aged event. And like you said, I think we got one check. It was just a lot of work and not much fun, but that was just, we got started and off we went,
Yeah. And I want to open it up to like the business side of the horse training. Because in my mind, I look at the numbers, which I've only rode. My public riding has been just like 30-day horses. If I got to keep one for 90 days, it was pretty nice. It was like 60 days of easy stuff, but just riding them. And I was just thinking and charging I think I started at $650, and most I've got was like $900 or something. But if you're getting, say now, $1,500 a month to ride a horse, and you get 10 outside horses in at $1,500 a month, that's $15,000 a month. But y'all are doing it on a bigger scale than that. So could a guy make a living on that having $15,000 come in, or are the expenses too much, or kind of what's y'all's numbers on making a good living that way?
Well, I think your overhead rises is when you get horses in, it just goes up the more horses you have in. But it does, numbers definitely help, but I think the only reason we ride numbers is to look for the next good one.
Yeah. I guess at y'all's level, y'all are just looking to win more than just that monthly income, right?
Yeah,
is that what you say?
So there's a sweet spot right there of the number of horses that you have to match your overhead.
Mm-hmm.
You get too many and your overhead just climbs with you. And like Kody said, at that point, what you're really trying to do is find the best horse you can out of the group. Trainers typically make their money off of winnings, commissions. I've been fortunate enough to have a set of brood mares, raise my own babies. My wife shows them. We sell the horses. From just a horse trainer aspect, though, it's hard to make a good living just off the monthly income part of it.
If you're getting 15,000 in, your expenses are 14,957.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And then you have a blowout on your trailer.
and and now we're in the hole, and you're calling the banker. It's tough. No, it's extremely hard to do it that way. And like he said, if you jump up and you get 30 head of horses, well, now you got to hire more help, more stalls, more shavings, more feed, and your expenses are 30,500. I mean, it's just a really hard deal. And yeah, you might have a couple of months where you don't have any blowouts and no water lines break and everything's going good and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden your arena needs new dirt. And now whatever you made those last 2 months, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's hard. You better win or you better sell some horses.
What has been, y'all can kind of go around, but like what do y'all see as like the sweet spot as far as how many horses and overhead? Because y'all have all been doing it for several years. Like, what is y'all's sweet spots? And I mean, I'm sure the numbers fluctuate a little bit. And like, how do y'all figure you can go make, a really good living for you and your families? Like, how many horses does that take? How much do y'all have to win? How many horses do you have to sell?
I need about 35 outside horses to make sure that I can pay all the bills at the end of the month. That's about if I get less than that, I'm fixing to get real nervous that at the end of the month there's not going to be enough money. And then, like I say, then as you start climbing over the 35, then you got to start getting more help, and then you better not just get 36 and 37 and hire one new person, because
it
now you need 42. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's a tricky.
And now you need another truck and trailer.
And now you need another truck and trailer. It's all just it's a tricky. And then as soon as you buy that truck and trailer, you're going to lose 10 horses. So I mean, it's a hard. It's a struggle to make it all pencil every month, and
you learn a lot of tricks every year how to get by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, I mean, there's a sweet spot, just like in for me to relate it to like ranching is like to have 10 or 15 cows cost almost the same overhead to take care of 100 or 200 or 300. One guy can do it. You need one pickup. You need a trailer. You're going to hire probably, close to the same amount of help. Your feed numbers are going to change a little bit, but there's got to be somewhere where you're optimization level, you're the most efficient. Like one guy, one stall cleaner can do 10 horses, and then once you get past that, you need more help. But to optimize that, you need 20 head.
Right.
If you have 12, you're going backwards.
That number 30, 35 is a very good number. I think that every horse trainer out there can really focus on and do a good job on 30, 35.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. If there's more than that, there I'm stressed to get them rode and to make sure that
doing a good job.
That we're paying attention and taking care of things. And we'll go months where there's 50 there, but I don't want to do it all year because you're stressed. I mean, it's 4 a.m. till 6 p.m, making sure that everything's taken care of, that everything's getting ridden, that you're doing a good job when you're on them, everything's getting fed properly, taken care of, the cattle are getting doctored. I mean, starts getting me where I'm pretty nervous that we're doing a good enough job.
Yeah. Could a guy, I mean, I know y'all probably had small numbers before starting out. Could a guy stay small and do it off of 10 head of horses, like make a living, just him and his wife, or him and one helper?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
like that?
for sure. The problem with that is 10 head of horses. It's so hard to find a good horse to be competitive on, unless those 10 head you got somebody backing you to go spend a couple $100,000 on each one of them. If these are just 10 head that you're bringing in training, it's going to be hard to be competitive at the top end, because it's going to be hard to out of 10, I mean,
It takes.
you're hoping for one
Yeah.
that's like open caliber finalist.
And to me, it goes back to like Michael Jordan shooting free throws. Like if you let Lloyd Cox shoot 100 free throws every day and you shoot 5, when it's game time, the GOAT's coming to town.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to look at it in that way too, in my opinion.
And I mean, I guess it's kind of a revolving door of like, if you weren't worried about winning the money, like if somebody was like, we're going to go enter the show, but you know, we may not win because we have lower caliber horses or whatever. But besides that, I mean, I would assume you'd probably have to win to even keep getting the horses in.
Yes.
They're going to want to see some
That's
success.
the tricky part. There's too many good guys around every corner that's got a stall open with open arms ready to ride your horse. So I think you have to stay competitive for sure.
And what is y'all's protocol on taking those horses now? I mean, like I said, y'all are probably focused on winning at the big events and stuff. Like, and we just talked about this before. With it being a judged event, you have to ride good ones all the time to keep your momentum and your name up there and everything. Like, what's y'all's method of, like, are y'all turning horses away, telling people like, hey, this horse isn't going to do any good, I don't even want them in my barn, or how does that go?
I mean, there's definitely horses that I would say we don't take, but there's always somewhere for that horse to go, you know. In our deal, there's so many different levels, and some guys like focusing on certain levels, and, you know, where I may be chasing a different route than this other guy. So I think there's a lot of that goes on of.
Well, I think like you don't want to, I mean, in any business, you want to keep your customer happy and not exactly just tell them, man, I just can't help you. I mean, you want to direct them somewhere. Is that
100%?
So you're like, this horse ain't going to work for me, but I got a guy over here, he'd be perfect.
100%.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably get into this on the sales side of things, but every horse, just about every horse, has value somewhere to somebody. Mm-hmm. And I think on our level of training and showing, like I always tell, when I have a new customer come in and they, you know, usually the first thing they say is, I want you to tell me the truth now. I want you to tell me the truth. And I always tell them, I'll tell you up front, after I've rode the horse a little bit, if it's not worth my time or your money, then I don't want it. Because all it's doing is taking my time away from better horses. And at the end of it, if they're just paying me every month to ride this horse and I don't think I can make it better in a couple months, then they're going to be upset. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, well, I've been paying you this money and still got the same result. So that doesn't mean that horse is bad, or that doesn't mean that horse needs to just go away. It's got to play somewhere, but it's just not going to fit in the top end of the open.
Yeah. And I want y'all to kind of talk about that. That gets into a whole nother deal that horse trainers and cowboys don't really think of when you get into y'all's deal. I'm sure it's a whole, y'all can say how much it balances, but it's probably half customer relationships and half of actually riding the horses, because y'all are dealing with help. Also, you're dealing with the customers and matching their goals to your goals and their horses, because you're going to have, I would assume there's going to be customers like, hey, I've got plenty of money. I'm going to go buy a decent horse at this sale, and all I want to do is cut on it every once in a while. I don't care if we go win anything. And like what y'all are saying is like, y'all don't necessarily want to.
We don't jack with that.
Yeah.
Much.
Y'all want to send that to somebody else. But what was that like? Get like learning the ropes of dealing with customers, and
I think we've all had
people.
those growing up. You know, I think whenever we start our businesses, those are the people you normally get first, and then you build up to, you know, better relationships and two, at a different level in the open to where we're chasing a little higher dream than that.
Mm-hmm.
And every customer is different. Like I said, they all have their own goals of what they want. I've had customers before that no matter how bad the horses were, they never wanted to sell them. They never wanted to send them anywhere else. They didn't want to. And if I did send them home, somebody else would be on that horse at the next show marking a 210 and not getting through runs. And then if that person didn't do it, they'd send it to somebody else. So at some point, you got to figure out what your customer really wants, and not just what you're trying to help them with.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough to have I've got a fairly small group of customers that their goals kind of align with mine. They all kind of trust me, and I trust them. They kind of turn me loose and let me do my thing. And that's been the greatest thing for me compared to now from what it was when I first started.
What was the learning curve there? I mean, do you think your customer base evolved, or do you think, like, for me to do this, like, first I branched out like into sales. Well, I'm listening and watching sales training and marketing and learning about all that, and then learning about social media stuff all the time. Like, do you think there was like what was the learning curve? Were y'all asking older trainers, how do you deal with this problem? How do you go get new customers? How do you get the customers that you want and stuff like that? Instead of just taking everything that comes your way.
I think it's just a learning curve. Just, I mean, so like those guys were saying, you want to go through as many horses as possible to find your better end, So, I mean, let's say 10% of the horses are good, or 5% or whatever it is. You need to go through a lot to end up with a couple of good ones. So, I mean, it's seldom that I would say anybody turns a horse down unless you've seen it a lot and you already know, hey, I'm not going to get along with that horse. But those younger horses, you're going to want to take them. You're going to want to try them. And
because you never know.
You never know. And I mean, no matter the breeding or whatever, you don't know which one's going to be the good one. So you want to at least try them and go through it for a little while. And then I would say as you go with that, you meet customers that you like, that you have similar goals with and stuff like that. And you just kind of,
kind of like what you do with the horses, you just take them and then weed them out.
Pretty much. I mean, and it's not necessarily even weeding them out. I mean, sometimes it's just a
better alignment.
Better alignment. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
too, you'll see some years of Tarin will have a string of horses that are super strong, and maybe his 6th place horse is unbelievable, and maybe my number 1 in my barn. I think it differentiates there too. Like, there's some years you may have a group of horses that come into your barn that are all outstanding, and that's hard to pick two from, but
yeah,
you gotta
we did it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I picked out the 2 I was going to ride and called the customer that owned the 3rd one, and he said, well, listen, if you're not going to show him, I want to sell him. And I said, hey, man, I really like this horse. I would like to keep him. I don't want to lose him. And he said, no, if you're not going to show him at the futurity, then I want to sell him. Okay, sounds good. We were at a pre-work, and Kody said, we'll take him. And Kody made the futurity finals on that horse, and I made it on one of the other ones and went out on the 2nd horse, but it just, like, I would have still liked to have had that horse, but that customer wanted him shown at the futurity by me, and if we weren't going to, then let's do something else. So, you just, like I say, you just kind of align the goals and stuff like that, and we'll have other customers that they're like, well, it's okay. The futurity's only one show. You're going to show it next year. So they're okay with that, and you just kind of sort through all of that as you go.
Mm-hmm. What does that customer base look like? Do you, in the cutting horse deal, are y'all like, is it mainly the customers? There's a list of customers out there, and they kind of bounce around. Maybe, I mean, not bounce around, I don't know what the word would be, but like, y'all are pulling on out of the same pool of customers, or y'all bringing new people in?
No, there's a lot of new people coming into the business, I would say, especially the last several years.
The Yellowstone effect. I mean, it really
100%.
has. It's brought a lot of new people in, and there's some pretty cool stuff going on with
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
And there is some customers that have been around forever.
that we've all rode horses
And
for.
some of them, I mean, I can think a couple off the top of my head that all 3 of us have trained horses from in different decades. I mean,
Yeah.
different times. Like I had their horses for a couple years, and they had some over here with this guy, and then they sent one to Kody, and Tarin got some. I mean, there's plenty of those people out there too, and I think we've all been blessed to have them. I mean, they've helped us out along the way. It does help a program and a trainer's confidence to go show for customers that are aligned with you, that trust you. You don't have to worry about them bouncing to, if I miss this one finals, they're going to, Tarin's going to show that horse next week. Those people are always a little harder to work for, just because they put a lot of pressure on you, and you want to reap the benefits of your work, right? You work hard at it. You really try to go make this horse better. It may not work. And as a trainer, you got to realize that too. Like, I may get a horse that's a good horse, and it may not fit me. It just might not work. And the best thing they can do is send it to Tarin or send it to Kody or somebody else.
And that's your job as a trainer too, to know, hey, listen, this is a good horse, but I'm not doing good enough, and it's not quite fitting me or whatever. Hey, let's let Kody try it. I mean, I've done that with
horses that I've owned. As a trainer, I've sent them to other guys. Like, hey, I'm not fitting this horse. Somebody else.
We've all done.
We've done. Yeah, I mean, we go back and forth. Amongst the three of us for sure. But like he said, I mean, I think that's part of your job is to know when you're not getting it done. When you're not getting it done, to keep that customer happy and 100%. To keep a relationship good. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I've been very, very fortunate to have great customers my entire career, and that were, like he said, that trust you. You go win money, do what you need to do to go win. And like I said, that's our job, to call that owner that is going to stick with you and say, hey, I really like this horse, but I'm struggling. You want to do something else? And so, I mean, it's all just a lot of give and take in all this.
When a new customer, like somebody's going to go decide they want to buy a cutting horse, how do they go about finding a trainer? Is it, do you think it's like you got to have a net? Those people are going to get in with somebody that they bought the horse from or something. They're like, call Kody or call Tarin.
They need to do their research.
I think they need to do their research and then go spend a little time and just see if you fit in, and find a spot where you fit in and get behind it 100%. And don't halfway get behind it, all the way get behind it. Because like Matt said, the confidence that and we all have those customers, every successful trainer, in my opinion, has that customer that is the backbone of their operation, that, hey, we're here whether you do good or bad, and we're here to see you do good. And those people mean a lot, because it's confidence boosting for sure.
But I think and like what you're asking, there's been a lot of people probably that have came into the business that
got with the wrong guy.
That got with the wrong person, or got in the wrong group, or whatever you want to call it, and they spend a ton of money, and then a year later they're like, I don't have anything to show for this. I'm not understanding it, or this guy might be cheating me, or whatever it is. And then they end up leaving and going and buying a boat or a set of golf clubs and never come back again. So most of those people, if they've been successful in their business and they've been successful in life, if they have enough money to come into cutting horses, they're smart enough to do their own research and kind of see what's going on and find the right people to get connected with.
Yeah. I heard, I think it was on Cow Horse Full Contact, but they were talking about that customer deal, and I don't remember who said it, but I remember hearing this somewhere, but they were talking about telling a customer, like, hey, if you buy this horse and send it to me, just plan on never seeing this money again. Do y'all ever tell people that, or you're like, hey, this could be a good investment? Like, basically they were just saying, this could go completely wrong and you just blow all this money, or you could win and maybe get something back or break even.
I think
Hudson Livestock Supplements is owned and ran by a ranching family that uses and tests their products on their own operation. By doing this, they're able to provide the highest quality product available and can direct you as to which one you might need for your specific operation. These tubs can help with breed back, weaning a larger calf, fly control, and helping the animals get all the nutrients and minerals they need. They can provide a solution for cattle, sheep, goats, horses, and wildlife in all different terrains and different scenarios. Check out hudsonlivestock.com for a full list of products and to find a dealer near you. And they are now processing payments with us at Diversified Payments.
I was tell us that all the time.
I would say it's the same thing. I mean, you have different clients that come in that only want to win, no matter the cost, and nothing else matters as far as that goes. And then you have some customers that are like, hey, I bought this horse and I'd like to make a little money. So, if you get a chance to sell it, let's sell it. And then, then we'll go buy another one. But so, I mean, I think all the same deal. It's just different. I mean,
yeah, same. Like they all have different goals.
Different goals.
I mean, I've got customers that it's more about building their program, right? Like they want their brood mares to be built up, their babies to be in the right hands. They want to add value to their assets. And then, like you said, there's some of them that come in. They're like, "Hey, I need a good horse. I want something. I want to see my name up there on the board, and in the winner's circle. Doesn't matter what it costs. That's where we want to be."
Yeah. Yeah, just aligning those goals back. I mean, it's back to all of it. It's all kind of sales, it seems like. So like, just say you're 20-something years old. You have some knowledge, and like me, I want to own nice things. So like, say I want a new Western hauler pickup and some new trailers and a nice place and stuff. What does that take in y'all's world? I mean, is it certain number of horses, or you're going to have to get the certain number of horses, you're going to win, you're going to branch out into the horse sale deal, you're going to trade some horses, kind of walk through that.
A good banker. But yes, a lot of horses, a lot of hard work, because I think we've all done it in a crappy truck and crappy trailer and bounce to the next one, I just think a lot of work and a lot of horses.
Is that also, something that y'all saw on the horse sale side and starting 817 and getting into that and ownership also and buying and selling horses?
So,
I mean, did you see that as a better way to make more income?
So I don't want to go to as many shows a year as it takes to win enough money to make that extra. I want to stay at home. I want to stay closer to home. I like coaching my kids' baseball teams. I like working horses at home. I like being at the house. I like training horses. I don't want to be gone 320 days out of the year. And I've done it. I've went to every aged event they had. I've hauled for the world. I've done all of those things. But I like being at home. So I wanted to start 817 to be able to make some money and not have to go to every show. And I like buying and selling horses. I've done it since I was a little kid. I like buying something, riding it for a little while, make it better, sell it, get a new one, and I like that. So, I mean, I think 817 was an avenue to lead into more of that. Like I said, I like training horses, so it's something that it was an avenue to sell some of those and also stay at home a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Who was the mind behind coming up with the 817?
Me. I had been thinking about it, like I said, just a place to sell some of my own and my customers and stuff like that. I love horse auctions. I always enjoyed that. I think I bought my first horse at the futurity sale by myself, maybe when I was 9 or 10. I was young. Me and my brother were over there at the sales, and we'd bought a couple of horses. And Milt Bradford owned Western Bloodstock at the time, and he called my dad, and he said, "Hey, Boyd, did you know that these two kids are over here buying horses?" And Dad said, "Yeah." And he's like, well, do you want to come over and check on them? And Dad's like, no, we already looked. We looked at the horses, and they know what they can spend, and they know which horses they can bid on and that stuff. So what have they bought? and we had bought it. It was before cell phones at that time, so we had bought a couple of horses, and we did good. When we were little, Dad co-signed at the bank for us, and me and Tatum borrowed the money, bought a couple of horses. Tatum was old enough. I think he rode his quite a bit. I was still too young to ride any 2-year-olds and stuff like that. So Dad rode them, and then we put them back in the sales the next year, and did that for a few years until I got old enough to start riding them myself. And then I struggled for a while once that started. So I mean, it's just always been fun of doing that and trying to figure that out. And I would say that's kind of how I learned to train and stuff, was doing it on that, trying to buy a cheap yearling, ride them for a little while, and sell them as a 2-year-old. So I've always loved, going to the auction. I like going to the cow auction, any of that stuff. I like it. It's just fun. So I had just been thinking about doing that and a way to, like I said, to make a little money and stay at home more. And I called Matt one day. I was driving into Fort Worth, and I'd been working on it and had the majority of the details worked out, or at least kind of an angle to start going forward. And I called him and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? And he said, I think it's a great idea. He said, I've got some ideas I think could help you. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's have them. And he's like, well, I'll tell you, but if I tell you, we're partners. And I'm like, okay. I kind of laughed, and he's like, and you have to decide right now. He's like, this isn't a deal we can talk about for a month, and then you decide. This is right now. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. What's up? What are we going to do? And so we just started kicking it around and writing down ideas and kind of what we wanted to do and what direction we wanted it to go and what all we needed. I mean, I'm the least techie person in the world, so an online sale company was a little bit tricky. Matt's very good with computers, and we kind of figured all that out together and started calling companies and see who we wanted to do it and put it together. And fortunately, we know 98% of the people in the cutting horse world. So when we said we were going to do it and put it together, we had a large group of trainers and stuff that started supporting it right off the bat. And I think that's the key to our success is knowing everybody, and having a good reputation of doing good business for the past 20 years or however long we've been, training horses but mainly just knowing everybody and those trainers trusting us and that stuff too. So it kind of took off, quickly. And then last year we needed some more help. Some of these sales are starting to get bigger, and our sale this October and last October both, there's between 70 and 90 horses in it, and it's hard to take care of all that stuff with just 2 people. And we talked to Kody, and he had been helping us with it, and he had a bunch of horses in the sale and kind of knew how it all went and stuff, and he jumped in and has been helping us ever since.
What was it like on the development side of that technology? Was that something did y'all use stuff that was already around, or was that new stuff? Because y'all have an app also. It's mainly based on the app, right? Or
yes,
you can do it online or on the app?
Yes, it's both. I mean, so all the bidding's on the app. If you go to the website, it takes you to the app, and and vice versa. But it was kind of not really trial and error, but we just started looking into all the companies that did it and kind of found which one fit. Same as the customers and the trainers, just kind of found what fit us and what aligned with what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Where y'all had, I guess, was that your first live sale the other day at Adon's?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something y'all are going to branch out into more? Or?
I think we would all like to. I mean, like I said, I love an auction. It's fun. It's exhilarating. It's a lot of stress and a lot of work and a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts, but I like it.
Yeah, and I know I had Jeremy on here a while back, and he was saying like he wasn't that big of a fan of the online sales because it takes jobs away from putting those live auctions on. And I think you take the emotion away if you're bidding on the phone, but I think there's a place for everything. I mean, it's convenient to just do it on your phone.
No, I definitely think he's right with the emotion. There's some of them horses that emotion gets behind, but then there's also a lot of people that on the online auctions at home have a lot of emotion too. When they're by themselves, they're like, oh, okay, I'll sit here and play this game all day, And
I think it's what I like about the online part of it is it's slower. It gives people time, right? Like
to do their homework.
I think that they can think about their decision longer. They can have a couple horses picked out that are in the auction. They watch one and they're like, that one's gonna be more than I want to spend, but I kind of like this horse too. So then they got hours to sit there and think, all right, now I might move on to this one. Well, that other one didn't go as high. I'm gonna go back to it. Where the live auction, you miss that horse that was early in the sale because you're trying to save your money for this one that's at the end. Well, this one at the end goes way higher than what you wanted, and then you leave there and you don't have a horse. Where our deal, you can kind of take your time, do your homework.
You can kind of regulate that horse.
Not
down
as
there
much emotion played into it. They can kind of be more sure about their decision.
Do you think that horse the other day would have brought all that money? What was it, $1,400,000?
$4,450,000.
Do you think it could have done that on the app, or is that only a live auction thing?
I personally think that a horse of that caliber is going to sell good no matter where we sell it at.
Yeah.
The people that are after that caliber of horse and all the things that go with her, with the breeding side of things, I think she's going to sell great if we sold her down here on the side of the road in a random time. Somebody's going to hear about it, show up and buy her.
Yeah. What did it take, like, starting out? I mean, y'all two started it before Kody got in. Like, what was the start like? Was it y'all were just on the phone like, hey, would you want to put some horses in this sale? Or are you talking to people, hey, would you want to come buy some horses out of this sale? Like, what did that look like starting? Seems like starting a business, it's a lot of, you're asking your friends and family and just getting the word out as much as possible.
Pretty much just that. We called all the people that we like doing business with that, and said, hey, here's what we're starting. You have anything you'd want to throw in a sale? And then you start calling people and saying, hey, we're putting this sale on. I think there's some horses in here that you might be interested in, So, I mean, I think both of that.
Yeah, I think our goals when we started were very small. Like, I mean, Tarin and I thought like we were going to sell about 20, 25 horses 4 times a year, and they would maybe average 15,000. Our first sale was probably triple that of what we thought.
Yeah, it was like 47 in the first sale, I think.
But I think, like he said earlier, the key to our deal was there's a lot of other online sales and plenty of horse auctions everywhere, but we're arena floor guys. Like, we're with these horses. There's most of the horses that come through our sales, especially show horses. We've probably seen them work live in person.
Turned back for them. Our buddy showed them. We showed them. I mean, something we know.
Yeah, like, so we feel like we have our finger on the pulse there of all these horses that are coming in, and I think that's been our biggest advantage, especially in the cutting horses. Is we're there all the time. We see these horses, we can talk to them, and when somebody says, "Hey, I need to sell this horse," we got an option for you. Like, if you want to do that, we got it for you.
And are y'all mainly cutting horses? Is that what y'all sales predominantly are?
Right now, yes. We did have a rope horse sale last year that went pretty good. We just started a new company called Apex that's going to launch in February, and we're going to start having a little bit more diversity with it as far as rope horses, cow horses, just other disciplines and other horses. And the reason behind that is we get a lot of horses that come into our 817 sales that don't quite fit with the rest of them that are in there. And, somebody might have a really nice red roan 2-year-old that they're not going to cut on, but might cow horse or do something else. And they want to sell it with us, but when we send it next to a $100,000 cutting horse, it doesn't get the attention it deserves. So we always tell those people, well, we don't really want to sell it for you because we don't want to disappoint you because we're selling these other ones over here. That was kind of the basis of what we started Apex for, was now we got another spot for you. You can sell those horses and they can still get the attention they need.
Are y'all going to market that under one sale? Or are you going to have like, we're going to have a 2-year-old sell at this point, a rope horse prospect sell at this point, a cutting horse sell at this point? Are y'all going to do something like that, or kind of just like combine it all and then just advertise like, hey, we got something for everybody here?
817 is always going to be cutting. I would say Apex would be more the rope horses, any type of horse.
But
really.
like every Apex auction will be every type of horse
In the
Yes.
beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll start that way.
and then have specialized
And then,
sales
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
somebody wants to have a live rope horse sale.
We
an
are
in-person
gonna-
live auction rope horse sale, or they, dispersal sale, whatever it is. We want to be able to tailor either one of them to meet
Exactly.
people's needs.
And we are going to try to have like a little selection of gildings in each Apex cell. Like say it's one of your and Shady's good gildings that you've had for years. The family can ride. It's a great prospect, right? We're going to try to have a handful of those every Apex cell. So,
And those are going to start in February.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Anything else? Like what's the feedback been on 817 and the horse sale, like that y'all have changed since the beginning? Have there been any changes like that?
I feel like every
Improvements.
sale we learn something new.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're always kind of adapting and changing stuff all the time. But
I think the main thing we've changed is the frequency. Like he said, the first year there, we were going to have 4. And then, say we have one in February, and you get calls, hey, when's your next sale? Or people would call the day before the sale, hey, I want to put a horse in your sale. Well, it's tomorrow. We can't.
this
we
week's
can't.
a great example.
Yeah.
We've
had
got
a-
a sale on Sunday, and we've probably turned down 8 to 10 horses
This week.
just over this last weekend.
Because
Of people
we don't
wanting to
have
get
time
in.
to. You don't have time to put your stuff together and get it on the computer
Help 'em
and
get 'em
people
sold.
to people to see it. That's the biggest thing, is for people to know that it's in the sale, because there's not enough time to react and advertise and stuff. So I think we jumped up the frequency because of that. Because hey, here's a group of horses people are wanting to sell. Let's have another one. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing we've changed.
Are y'all going and seeing? I mean, like you said, y'all know a lot of these horses, but like if you didn't know the horse already, are y'all going and seeing those horses? And
Quite a
Go
few
look
of
at
them.
a lot
A
of
lot of them, yeah. And like I said, that's the cool part about it, is I don't know that we've ever sold a horse that we didn't know the trainer
Or
on
see,
it, or
yeah.
didn't know the consigner, to where we can call them and honestly have a conversation with them, and they know us well enough to tell us everything about their horse too, most of the time. But I think that's the unique deal about it is we can go, if we can't see the horse, or if it's a 2-year-old, on the East Coast or the West Coast, then we
got
know those
somebody
people
that
well
can.
enough, or we know somebody close by that can see it.
yeah. Have y'all had any bad experiences as far as these people aren't going and seeing these horses live? Have you had any bad experiences if somebody bought a horse and they get it and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought I bought? Anything like that?
I wouldn't say bad experiences, because they all been good learning experiences, but like that one lady bought a horse thinking it was a stud and it was a gelding, but
You would be amazed
Went
at how many
good.
people participate in auctions that don't know anything about an auction.
Exactly.
And which is why we have all the terms and conditions that are so repetitive and so deep for everybody to see, is because we want people to read those and understand that you are buying an animal, like you are buying this horse. When you bid on it, that's a contract. You're buying the horse. And it's their job to go do all their
Homework.
own research and homework on it.
Yeah, I think
that's the biggest deal, is getting them to do their homework and make sure they like what they're bidding on.
I think it's funny. I mean, we kind of sell our own horses, usually like on Facebook or something, we'll list them or whatever. But it's like the people that don't even read the description. You put price, like I know what the questions are going to be. So I know if I don't put the price in there, there's going to be 50 comments of price. So if I put what you kind of got to be, sneaky about putting that on the price on there. But I try to list everything possible in there. And then you're going to have the people that just completely don't read the ad. And I'm like, no, it's above. And obviously, if you ask this question, you're not going to buy. So I don't care if I'm a smart ass and piss you off and tell you to read the ad, But
That's where I come into the business.
Yeah.
I take those calls.
That's what we brought him in for.
all the stuff y'all don't want to deal with, you send it
Go
to
to
Kody. And you
Do
try
you
to,
know Cody Porterfield?
Well,
Good chance
hello,
good
Karen.
chance they do.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, you just smile and
Take it on the chin and go measure the horse again.
Yeah. Perfect. Y'all were probably like, we can probably give Porterfield like a 10% stake in this business and send him all the crap we don't want to deal with. Great
I
business.
think that's a great idea.
Dispute resolution.
We are going to need to talk about that 10%.
Think you need to get Chris. Chris could be part of your customer relation team.
Whew. Let me tell you, I'd have to hire y'all because you
We're gonna need to edit.
You and Shady are the only team that I've seen filming and be able to edit it out. I've gotten more calls and comments over that video last night than anything. He's definitely a star, movie star.
Is that what is y'all's take on that horse sale side? And Tarin talked about, I mean, that's what I've been trying to grow is like, I love ranching and rodeoing and roping and stuff. And I know if I can build some other type of business, I can do that. I'll have more freedom to do that. Is that kind of what y'all are headed and maybe more of an ownership stake in owning some horses and making money that way? And also the business of the horse sales, the 817 and the Apex.
I tell you, the only reason I got in with these guys is just because I knew they do good business. And obviously, I'm like Tarin said, I think we've all focused on finding something that one day, whenever we're old and stuff and can't get on a horse, we don't have to worry about trying to keep riding them, because when they first started, Tarin, he put a lot of work in, and Matt did too, into starting this up. But I never necessarily had a dream or anything about being in the horse sale business. I'm like Tarin, I've always loved an auction, whether we were selling goats or flipping quarters out back. I love that stuff. But the only reason I got in was I just know they're going to do an honest job and everybody respects them, and they're good guys to do business with, whether you're buying cutting horses or donkeys. They're going to shoot you straight.
What was your goal in it, Matt?
I thought, like growing up training horses, it was, the competitive part of it. Always wanted to be better and do better. The older I got with having kids and everything, I always say, how many retired horse trainers do you know? Like, I mean, Ronnie Rice is unbelievable that at his age, he can still ride the shit out of a horse.
And win.
And I'm like half his age, and it hurts me sometimes. It's been said on plenty of other podcasts, but horse trainers have never charged enough. Like we've never gone up on our rates to go up with inflation or our cost. I mean, we used to buy a load of alfalfa for $3,000 when I first started training, and now it's $13,000. Yet my training only went up a couple $100. So I've always looked at it as, what am I going to do? Am I going to do the same thing, the horse trainer deal? I'm going to train horses as long as I can until I can't be competitive, until I'm old and tired, and then I'm going to have to sell my ranch to retire. Or there's other businesses that we can try to get in and other things we can do. And I've done a couple of those things over the years, but this has obviously been the best one for us. The 817 has.
Yeah, definitely. I heard it somewhere the other day that maturity was switching your thinking from short term to long term, and having a family was definitely what kind of kick started that. Because like cowboys are definitely not known for being mature, and I think in that, we're always thinking today or tomorrow or this week, and then you look up and you physically can't do it anymore, or can't do as much as you could, and then you also are still living in almost like a poverty type state. You're never getting ahead building anything. And like you said, I've seen it. I haven't paid attention a whole lot to the horse training world, but I'm sure it's the same as like the rodeo guys. You see these guys that were multiple world champion, phenomenal athletes, and then end up just as broke as anybody at the end of their career. And you see somebody like Trevor that thought about it and actually retired on his own, on his terms at a young age. And like, I think
put a plan into action to move forward.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people could do that. Just nobody really thinks of it. I don't know if you just get caught up, you get caught up in the day to day. You're thinking about training the next horse, blah, blah, blah. And you're never thinking down the road, what can I do?
Well, you're chasing that next win all the time. Like you're always trying to get to the next show to do better than you did at the last one. But I think that's what bothered me the most was whatever day that was that I was thinking about it was the retired horse trainers. Like, where are they at? And nothing against any of them and what they're doing, but there's a lot of horse trainers that are still trying to trade a horse every now and then, or you see them hanging around the shows trying to do something.
And they're
to
our
make
heroes.
money.
They're the reason we're doing what we do, because we watched them back in the day be unbelievable, at training cutting horse, showing them. So we don't want to be in that spot one day.
I mean, you see it in really, I guess, in any sport. Everybody says be like Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan sacrificed every other piece of his life. He had no personal life. He's got a lot of money and all the championships, but he sacrificed all the personal. Well, like you can take different things and like, hey, maybe I'm not going to work quite as hard as Michael, but I'm going to work hard, and I'm also going to balance it a little bit with having a family and doing these other things. And it's going to take away from your winning, but you're also going to have this other part of your life. So it's like finding the balance, and then, how you want to structure your life. If all you want to do is win, then screw everything else and just focus on that.
The perfect quote for that is, all it takes is all you got if you want to be at the top.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I heard somebody the other day talk about that, about becoming the president. And everybody wants to have morals and, if I was there, I wouldn't do this or do that. Well, to get there, it does not matter what you think. It matters what it takes. It doesn't matter if you gave it your best or whatever. It just matters what it takes. And there's always going to be somebody out there that doesn't care about morals, that doesn't care about money, doesn't care about whatever it is. They're going to do what it takes, and they don't care if they burn bridges on the way. So you have to realize that there's people out there like that, and kind of, if you want to live your life on morals, maybe you're not going to get those other things, because other people are going to do whatever it takes to win, to be the president, to make a lot of money. And, we're probably not going to do those things. Probably going to live with a different code of ethics.
I think the cool thing about 817 for us is being able to, for me personally, I've been able to enjoy horse training more with some of that pressure relieved. Like I'm not as stressed about the 35 head of horses in training all the time. Like it's, hey, I want to ride the good ones now and enjoy it. And I've got another source of income, and we have fun with this. I think we do. I mean, we argue every now and then, but for the most part, like, we have fun with it. And I'd say we're super transparent with all of our customers about it. I mean, every horse sale we have, we leave the results up for a month or so, and like they can see what horses sold and which ones didn't. And our buddies will call us sometimes. Well, you didn't get that horse sold, did you? No, we're trying to today though. The sale was over yesterday, but you know what? We're letting the whole world know that horse didn't sell, and if you're interested, call us. We might be able to get it sold for you. So,
And it is amazing how many times we actually get them sold the day after because so and so
forgot
that the sale was even. He was like, "Oh,
busy," or
yeah," or ran out of service or something. I mean, we've heard every excuse in the book. But
Or do you ever have like somebody's like, "Dang, I wish I would have bought them, but I didn't press the button or I didn't raise my hand."
just the other day,
it happens all the time. Yeah.
Colt Moore's 3-year-old in the sale. Gavin Callahan came to me the next day. He was like, "We should have bought that horse. We were wanting to and just didn't." And he tried to buy it the next day.
He said, "Guess what? He's still for sale."
Yeah. No, that guy said no. He was happy with his purchase.
but I think that, like you're talking about the morals and what you have to do to get there. I mean, we've tried to run this as transparent as possible. I mean, by showing those results and
what we based all of our cutting horse operations, like I was saying, of telling that customer, "Hey, I'm not getting it done," or, "Hey, your horse, we're not going to win on it, so you need to quit paying me to ride it. We need to do something else." We've all been successful because I feel like we've been extremely honest and tried to do the most honest, hardworking job we could for each and every one of those customers, no matter what their goals were. And if they didn't align with our goals, then let's do something different, And so I think we try to do 817 the exact same way. And I mean, a guy called me yesterday asking about a mare, told me what his goal was with the horse or with a horse that he bought, and I said, "No, that's not this horse. You need to go look at a different one." So I mean, I think that's how we try to do it, and I mean, I think that's how you run a business to stay in business for a long time.
Yeah. It's all about relationships. So like if you burn a bridge, then it's probably going to come back and bite you in the
Pretty
butt.
much. Yeah, very soon.
What do y'all think the future of horse sales are? I mean, we've seen it recently. Y'all been on the cutting edge of it, being able to buy them on an app and putting on like an exclusive horse sale event and kind of doing some different things. Like where do y'all see it headed?
I think it's going to continue to have that mix of the live and the online. I mean, the live auctions are always going to be there. It's too exciting, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
fun.
always going to be there. There's always going to be a spot for the online ones too. And right now the horse numbers they're crazy. So there's plenty of horses for sale. They're going to
So
be
many
there.
people breeding, and
I think Jeremy Barwick told me the other day in December they're going to sell like 600 yearlings. I mean, that's a lot of horses. I mean, so the numbers are out there. Now, what that does to the market, we don't know yet, but there'll be plenty of horses to sell.
Do y'all think that horse sales have gotten bigger over the years? It seems like I always thought, that horse sales, I always thought of like, just the Cleburne horse sale or something. You just kind of take some trader horses or whatever. But it seems like now you can go to Clovis and buy a really good horse, or these online sales like y'all are doing and Kody Shelley does and Western Bloodstock. So many sales now, and it seems like it's getting kind of more normal of like, there's not that stigma of like, oh, you bought that horse out of a sale. It seems like there's more horses going in sales different places. Do y'all think that?
for
DX Trailer Sales is based out of Lubbock, Texas, and it is definitely not just a trailer dealership. If you are involved in the Western way of life, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are, then they have something you need. From trailers for a day working cowboy to a full-time cattle hauler to hay trailers for a farmer or rancher to arena drags, rope and chutes, and feeders for the rodeo cowboy or cowgirl. They also deal in every kind of hay any of your animals could ever need. Literally anything you need, farming, ranching, or rodeoing, they're going to have something for you, and it's going to be at a super affordable price. Besides all that, everyone you deal with there is super friendly and very helpful. So check out DX Trailer Sales on Facebook or dxtrailers.com and tell them you came from the Wealthy Cowboy Show.
For sure.
Yeah, I
I
think so.
definitely, there's all them cells that are growing around, out in Arizona and California, all those, there's cells everywhere now.
I mean, look at how much Bowie's grown.
oh, yeah, Bowie's
I mean,
huge.
I mean, Bowie
Yeah.
at one point they had a sale once a month, and it was just
Now
horses.
You
Now
can go
up
there
and
for
get
2 days.
Get a good gilding. I mean, they selling really
can
nice
sit there for
horses
2
and
days.
a lot of them. I mean, yeah, it's turned into they've built new barns and stalls, and
Yeah.
it's turned into a big deal. And then Clovis, which is level land now. I mean, they're all growing. All of those things they've turned into a like
production.
production. Yeah,
I
like
think
you're
we'll see
saying.
more of these specialized type deals though as it goes. Like we did the exclusive the other day for Adon, and we did the Cascade sale in Oregon. A couple weeks before that, a month before that. I think we'll see more people wanting to that have the number of horses, instead of them wanting to haul them all to a sale somewhere. They're going to call places like us and say, hey, how about doing an online auction of 35 head that I've got up here at my ranch, instead of me trying to fit all these things up and get them down to a sale somewhere. I think we'll see more of that stuff coming into play.
In y'all specific industry, was it a whole lot of private treaty before, or were y'all still doing mainly sales when somebody wanted to sell a horse?
Mainly private treaty with me.
Yeah, and I still think the really high end horses are always going to be the private treaty. I mean, for the most part, other than when we do some of these special ones like the exclusive the other day, there was obviously some high end stuff there, but most of the time it's going to be private treaty.
Well, I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, if you price a horse and it just needs one person to come buy it from your house, but if you can get two people in an auction setting, it could bring more than you ever would have asked for it. So,
well, I think Casey Green was the one that said something to me about it when we first started 817. Was he had a horse for sale, and I might be mixing the story up a little bit, but he was trying to sell a horse, and somebody came and tried it, and they liked it, and then they vetted it, and right, you're going to find something on every X-ray somewhere. You're going to find something. And then they tried to beat him down on the price. Well, his owner didn't take that. So the next day, a different person came and tried it. And then next thing you know, he was 6-7 people deep, mauling this horse around, all vetting it, all trying to beat him up on the price and change all that. And it's like, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my owner's time. I could have just put it in the sale and just let them bid on it. I think that's what's cool, that we give them that ability every couple months to do that, to where they don't have to wait till the end of the year or go through that entire process of everybody coming out there trying to find a way to beat you down on your price.
So I usually kind of wrap up the show. The show's supposed to be educational on finances and kind of bettering your business, whether you're a rancher, a horse trainer, or in actual business. But what advice would y'all give? There's going to be two parts to this question. The first part is to a horse trainer, to a guy wanting to be a horse trainer, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old. What would you tell a guy like that to do?
To go find somebody that he admires, that he values as a person, another trainer that's successful, and keep your eyes open and your head on a swivel and work your butt off.
And stay there as long as possible.
Yep. And I think if you get with the right person, he'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, definitely work your butt off, get in a good program, and don't be entitled.
Yeah.
Don't be entitled
leave your ego out the gate, because
even if you are good,
yeah,
don't act like it. Just learn until you get good enough.
Is it worth sacrificing? I mean, I think there's like a shortage of kind of colt starter guys and stuff. Is it worth sacrificing a guy that could go out and get 5 or 10 head of horses on his own and get a decent income to go get a salary working for a trainer? Do you think it's worth the trade-off of the knowledge and learning how to run all that?
Well, this is just my opinion, but I'm a lot greener than these guys. I didn't grow up in the cutting, And when I got to Tarin's, I knew I needed Tarin. You know what I mean? I was good at getting a horse to ride around and look fancy to the cowboys and win top horse over here. But when I got to Weatherford, it's different. I can tell you right now, I handled it firsthand experience right here. But you need the guidance on how to finish a horse, because there's a lot goes into training a cutting horse. But at that level, there's so many things there at the end, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but that I dang sure didn't know and wouldn't have known if I didn't get the experience riding with somebody or feeling the finished product, you know. But even me feeling the finished product, I needed guidance, you know. Too strong, not enough, you know, because there is a middle there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it just depends what their goals are. Like, I mean, if they just want to start colts and start 2-year-olds, I mean, that's obviously a whole nother area that they have to learn from somebody that's an expert in that. And I think guys can make a good living doing that. They can make a good living by just going and putting good fundamentals on a horse, no doubt about it. I mean, I know when I'm shopping for horses, I want to know the fundamentals that were put on
to do with it.
Like, I don't want somebody just because it's fancy and jumps around and throws its nose on the ground. I don't want any of that. I want good fundamentals. So if that's what they want to do, there is a good place for that. If they're wanting to go show and start a full-on show training operation, they got to work for somebody. They got to go underneath somebody, and like Tarin said, stay there as long as you can and figure it out.
You got anything to add on that note?
No, I mean, I was thinking the exact same thing as Kody. Just
because I wanted to stay with you. I was only with Tarin a short amount of time of what I needed to be. Even though he said go, I needed 3 more years or 5 more years even. I would have learned things smoother. Even though I still learned them because I had him and Matt on the phone. Yeah. But still, if he would have been there holding my hand per se.
I was fortunate enough to know at a young age that this is what I wanted to do. And when I was trying to learn it the most was some of Dad's winningest years. And so it wasn't that I was wanting to play high school football and go do other things. I wanted to be a cutting horse trainer, and I wanted to learn how to do that. So while Dad was, like I say, some of his winningest years when he had Third Cutting and Bob's Hickory Rio and some of the better horses that he's ever had, Sierra Sunray, I was there watching those horses get worked every day, riding them, trotting them for him, whatever it took. And so when I left Dad's house, I had been doing it. We'd been doing it forever. You know, it wasn't that I did all the other things that most high school kids do, and then all of a sudden decided, oh, I want to do this. So now I had that ahead of me. I did it a lot earlier. But so I would say, like I said, I was going to say exactly what he said. Figure out if this is what you want to do. And maybe the only way you can do that is by going to work for somebody and then realizing a couple years in or a year in or whatever that
you don't want to do it.
I don't really like this. And I don't know, but yeah, find somebody that like you were saying, that your morals line up, that you like the style of their horses, that you get along with them, and you like the way that they coach on you and stuff. And maybe even if you don't like the way they coach, but if you're learning from it, then just go to work and you be there before everybody else and every morning after they leave, and you just work and don't worry about doing all the other things that everybody wants to do. That don't be worried about leaving and going on a date. Don't be worried about leaving and going golfing. None of that stuff. You work, and then when you get to a spot where you want to be and you go do your own deal, well, then now you can make your own hours and stuff. But when you're working for that person, in order for them to put in 110% of their effort in teaching you, You got to give them 110%
gotta
effort.
be the best team player.
You got to be right there. And they say, clean the trailer. You can't. I came here. I wanted to ride horses. No, we need to clean the trailer. And if you do what they say for however long, here in a minute they're going to start throwing you a bone, and trying to coach on you because you're somebody that they need. So they're going to try to teach you, and to me, that's the way to do it. Whatever value you can bring to the team, you give it all the way, and in that turn, to me, they'll teach you how to train horses, or whatever that is, and ask questions, but also watch. Just pay attention when you're at work. Don't be goofing, and don't be on the phone. And when they're working a horse, pay attention and be like, "Hey, why'd you do that right over there? I seen what you did, but why'd you do that?" And something like that. I mean, that's just the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's it took me a while to learn, like, the law of reciprocity. So, like, if I go give enough value to somebody, it's unreasonable for them not to give me value back, even though I'm in good faith, putting my value out first, helping somebody and sacrifice my time or effort or whatever it is. But it's unreasonable for them not to do it. And some people are just going to burn you. They're just going to take everything you can give, and you want to get away from those people as soon as you find it out. But most people, like I said, it's going to be unreasonable if I really go out of my way and help somebody out a bunch, in some form or fashion, it's going to come back, whether it's money or knowledge or, whatever it is.
Right.
Now, I think a lot of people, it took me a long time to figure that out. And I think a lot of people, it either takes them a long time or they never figure that out.
Well, the cutting horse trainer, to me, is they can be as successful as the team around them, right? Like, that's our most important thing, whether it's our wives, our clients, and our help at home. And you have to have a good team.
Period.
I mean, if you have any part of that team that's falling apart, that's not wanting to gel together,
You're struggling.
you're going to struggle. So you got to have the clients, like we talked about earlier, that align with you, that have the same goals, the same morals, the same alignment. Your wife has to be the same way. Your lopers have to be the same way. Your assistants,
Down to your stall cleaner.
Yeah, everybody has to be on the same team to get anything done. And I think that's what most young guys have to understand is when you're coming up is make yourself a part of the team. Don't make the team part of you. Like, when you show up to work, be there to help the team and to make the team succeed. Don't come in thinking I'm the value add and the team's going to do what I need them to do today, because that's not even how any of us are on our deal. We're not the value. We are the team. We're just happen to be the leader of the team. But at the end of the day, we're just a link in the chain.
Yeah, I think you could, if you work somewhere, you could, whether it's in a 9-to-5 job or for a horse trainer or whatever, like, ask yourself, am I an asset or am I a liability? Mm-hmm. And an asset, is going to bring value. They're gonna help. They're gonna bring more income, bring some type of value to the business, to the team, whatever it is. And a liability is going to be one of those people, like, are they going to show up on time? Are they going to try to get out of doing something? Are they going to leave early? Can I count on this person to take care of it while I'm gone or while I go to town or whatever? And you could just be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, am I an asset or a liability? On going further down the road, a horse trainer, say, that's been doing it, that is on their own, that's been doing it for a few years, what are some things that they could do to make more money out of their operation?
Always evaluate. I mean, I think we are very upfront with our businesses all the time because we live close and talk on the phone every day, but we're always looking into how we can make something better or save money here.
Better cow deal,
yes.
Better feed deal, better horses, less help, less overhead, whatever that is. What do I need to change to make more money?
And maybe it's hiring more help. You know, like in our situation, you know, when we started doing the horse sale thing, we almost need more help now, you know, but it
Better,
also
you know,
helps us
bigger,
focus.
better team.
Yes, bigger, better team.
How often are y'all doing that, evaluating
Every
yourself?
day.
Weekly, yeah. I was going to say
Yeah,
weekly. Yeah.
I mean,
Especially at the end of the month.
every day.
When it comes time to pay the bill, it's like,
good banker.
yeah. Can we cut that bill out of here?
I think that any of those young trainers coming up is don't be afraid to go ask the guys questions. I mean, we all run
Yeah.
our deals different and different stuff, and Tarin might have some idea that makes this cheaper that I'm doing, and I may not want to do that. I may like what I'm doing. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But there's always the guys will be pretty open with you about what things cost and how to make your deal run the right way.
How do y'all figure in your what you're going to charge a month to ride a horse?
It's too cheap.
Yeah, it has been for years.
Yeah.
I mean, is there some math equations of like what it's going to cost, what I want to pay myself? I mean, that would be, you'd probably be above the market. Like, I always kind of wonder, like Clint Anderson says, like, you know, why can't we unite in order to, across the industry, we're going to charge $4,000 a month or whatever, you know, whatever it takes. And everybody, you're always going to find like somebody's like, I'm starting out, I want the horses, so, you know, I'll do it for a little less.
That's right. We can tell you what it costs to have a horse. Tarin, you're always really good at that.
Yeah,
What's
I
that?
figure it. I refigure it
All the
constantly.
time.
If I get a feed bill and it's going up, you know, and it's changing, then I sit down and refigure it. And if I hire more help, I sit down and add that in. Okay, this month the costs are going to be this much, you know, and a lot of times I figure out that we're going to be in a bind at the end of the month or whatever, but I already know it before we get to the end of the month. And then
So
I'm
you're
like,
already
oh. So I've already called the banker. You know what I'm saying? That like I already know what's going on, just so that I'm. And a lot of times I still do panic because I hate being in that situation. I hate that feeling, but I don't know. I just try to stay on top of it. I know what all my stuff is costing, pretty much all the time, and know how many horses are you know, how much money is going to be coming in and how much we've got going out. And I try to stay on top of that as much as possible. And my wife does a really good job of keeping the books and paying the bills and taking care of that stuff so that, you know, I try to worry about just making sure that there's enough in there to pay the bills, and she takes care of paying them and you know, doing that stuff. So I don't know. It's just but yeah,
How
I
often
would-
do you fluctuate your price? Like as far as what you're charging the client? Like you said, your cost is fluctuating a little bit.
It's-
I know you can't change every month. but-
yearly.
I'd say it's usually
Yearly.
pretty standard at the beginning of the year. Everybody kind of goes back through, and starting January 1, you're like, okay, I got to go up. You know, I've got to add this here because it's
And do
eating
y'all
alive.
kind of talk like is there a
Not
big group
enough.
of y'all? Yeah.
Not enough. I mean, I all the stuff that Clinton said in that is right.
Spot on.
It's nobody ever charges enough, and I'd say for young guys, don't sell yourself short. Like don't. When I first started out, and I can't even remember what I was charging, but I had a customer that told me, and without saying any names, he said, you know, this guy over here is one of the top riders, and he's not charging that much. And what I wanted to say, well, that's his own damn fault. Just because he's making all his money, at the horse show when he's winning money, doesn't mean that I should have to suffer for that because I'm charging more money a month because it costs me more a month. So, yeah, it'd be great if all the guys could come together and say, you know, we need to go up. But you look at all that inflation and stuff that's happened. I mean, you know, we're like, all right, we'll add $100 this year, I guess. I mean,
And see, I had a customer tell me a couple years ago, don't go a year without adjusting for inflation. Go up every year. Inflation's 3%, change all your charges 3% every year. And then that way you don't look up in 5 years and you haven't changed it. Then you change it $400 to catch up with the times. And then one of your customers calls and is like, hey,
See ya.
you went from, you know, $1,500 to $1,900 or from $2,000 to $2,400. I'm not gonna, I don't. That's too much. You jump too much. Whatever. Just adjust each year accordingly, and then you stay up with the times. And that's a hard thing to do because cutting horse trainers do stuff off of solid numbers. You do 1,800, 1,850, 19, whatever. You don't go from 1,800 to $1,812 a month. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's all so that's just a tricky deal to do. And since they told me that, I've tried to adjust it each year a little bit. And
it's scary to do, right?
Because you never know.
And Austin Shepard, which obviously we all know who he is and how great he is. He told me one year, and I think he heard it from Ronnie Rice. I was talking about going up in training, and I was scared to death. I was a younger guy at the time, and I was afraid I was going to lose my customers. And Austin said, go up, and the ones you lose, you didn't need there anyways. Don't worry about them. And I've lived by that since then. Like, if I try to treat my customers fair, and if I have to go up, I have to go up. One of my best clients always told me, you charge me, no matter how many horses I have there, you charge me what you charge per month, and I'll be the one that can determine if I can afford this or not you.
Yeah, and that's, I would assume that y'all's best clients are probably going to have successful businesses somewhere else, and if they have a successful business, they know all the things that y'all are dealing with, and they're raising their prices and stuff too. So they would assume that y'all would be smart enough to do that as well.
Which is also what's awesome about our industry is we get to learn so much from the people we meet. And we get to be around some of the biggest business owners in the world.
Yeah. We get to, and
go to dinner with them.
I don't have a single customer that I can't call right now and pick their brain about
any type of business.
Anything. I have customers that I call and talk business with. I have customers that I call and talk family with. We get to be around some of the smartest and some of the best,
most educated people in the world.
Exactly. We get to. I didn't do very little schooling, but we get to pick the brains of a lot of people that are real smart.
That's also why they brought me on for the brains.
Yeah, you went to
Tarin dropped out in 7th grade, and he grew up in Arkansas. Odessa's looking pretty good.
Hey, I was
basically
7th grade.
Yeah,
I was valedictorian in my class. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
the other 3 were sick that day.
That's when I started. When I was day working, I was like, how can I make more money? So I was like, I'm riding horses, so I'll ride somebody else's horses for and charge them. And I started out like $650. And then I was like, this isn't too good, so I'm going to do $750. And then I got to thinking, I was like, man, I worked for a guy in college, and he was charging $750, and that was 10 years ago. I was like, that's not working either. And so I got into I think 900 or something. But then I was like, since I've quit, I'm like, man, it would take 1,500, 2,000 or something for me to do it and I really don't even want to do it for that.
Yeah.
But it would take that, and I don't know that I can provide that much value, so I'm just not going to do it. And I think we also y'all's deal's a little different. You could set yourselves apart. Hey, I'm not those other trainers. I only want the best clients, and I want the best horses, so I'm going to charge twice as much, and I'm going to ride half as many horses, and we're going to win more. And set yourself apart. No, I'm not those guys. We're not even competition.
It's out there. That's out there.
Yeah, setting yourself apart like that is
I think the hardest
thing.
I think the hardest part about trying to implement something like that is saying, okay, I'm going to ride half the horses. I'm going to charge twice as much. That way I can do twice as good, teach these horses twice as much or whatever. And then you go to the show and get your butt kicked because everybody's good. And it's just, that's hard. That's a hard leap to take of saying, okay, yeah, I am better because you're not. I don't care if you're Matt Gaines, Lloyd Cox, Austin Shepard. Those are the highest money earning people that we have in our industry. Well, yeah, a Dawn every year, but I'm saying those guys have been doing it the longest. If they were to say, okay, I'm better, I've won the most money, and I'm going to charge $5,000 a month, and then they might go a couple of shows and not do very good, Now, don't get me wrong. Here in just a second, they're going to get that line back out and they're going to win the next 6. But it's not a guarantee that just because so and so is the highest money earning rider or whatever that they're gonna win, because everybody's good and cattle dictate horses. There's so many there's so many problems with this that there's no guarantees. You know what I'm saying? It's just so I think that's what keeps anybody from ever saying, all right, here's what I'm going to do, and you're either with me or not, because you might run into a string of bad horses or a string of bad luck or whatever, and just here in a minute everybody left because you're charging $5,000 a month and now you're not winning. So I mean, it's just a tricky deal.
Basically, welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. It is a jungle.
Kind of on that same note, what financial advice would you give to a young trainer?
I don't think you should ask cutting horse trainers anything about financial advice.
Get a great sponsor.
I don't.
Be smart with it.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't have to have that new truck in the track.
Yeah. If you go to that show and hit the lick that you needed, and you don't have to have the fancy truck. With all that being said, keep in mind your customers too. They don't want to show up to a show
wire hinge gate,
see some shitty horse trailer, right? Like they want their horses taken care of in a nice stall and a nice trailer. But
there's a happy medium somewhere to have it taken care of, have it in a nice rig that's safe to go down the road, and yet not be living outside of your means. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're supposed to live within your means and know where that's at. And that doesn't mean that you can't, like I said, take care of the horse and whatever, but it's just there's a fine line between everything having to be the biggest and the baddest and you're spending a whole bunch of money and then showing up, like you said, in something that's falling apart that's dangerous for your horse, so.
But for those young guys, I mean, like I said earlier, don't sell yourself short. Like, I mean, make sure you're charging for the things you need to be charging for. Make sure that you're not absorbing all this extra expense to help some customer that's going to leave you next month. Like, make sure you're charging for the job that you're doing. Be fair. Don't cheat anybody, but be fair and don't sell yourself short on it.
And I would say don't be too proud. Like, don't try to rush into doing things on your own, because I struggled a lot with that, and I see so many people now that stayed. The longer you hear that from all these guys, the longer they stayed, the more they learned, and the easier it was whenever they did leave.
Yeah, what is Clinton says that, like, once you think you're ready to leave, stay another year or something like that?
At least, yes, for sure. And two, don't be scared to ask, because like they said, everybody in our industry, you can pick up the phone and call, and they'll help you out. They'll give you advice and stuff, because like we said, it's a jungle. They're not scared. They want you to come in.
It's not just riding the horses.
Yeah.
No,
riding
that's
the
the easy part.
Is the easier part of the business.
That's exactly right.
It's everything you have to do to keep the business running. It's a lot.
Yeah. That's why that was mainly what my questions. This isn't a training show. I mean, there's fundamentals. I mean, you got to have a lot of knowledge in that area to be good, but I think in y'all's industry, at y'all's level, y'all are more, not as much there. Y'all are having to do more people stuff, more business stuff,
plumbers, electricians.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's overwhelming even when I started out to go lease somewhere, you think, okay, well, I'll just start getting horses in. Well, to just go lease somewhere just to get going cost a lot of money, and it's overwhelming to a young trainer that's just got a handful of horses in the barn. The cost can overwhelm you,
trailer, tractor, arena drag. I mean,
or hey, you can lease this place, but you better buy some sand to put in the arena. Well, there's 10,000. I mean, everything costs.
Yeah, I mean, and
I don't know that we've given any solid advice here.
to deter people from going in.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that we've given any advice of, hey, here's what you do to make it successful, because I think it's different for every person. and
Oh,
that's
for
something
sure.
you just kind of gotta
Fill out.
start and work through. And I mean, I would say the biggest financial advice or any other advice, no matter what you want to call it, is to be honest and to work hard, and the finances will take care of themselves. As far as if you're doing an honest job and you're not cheating somebody, you're not doing something you're not supposed to, then it'll take care of itself. I think.
That's right.
I think we talked about some stories like that in Cody's episode about, just you were working hard, not knowing anybody was watching, and then all of a sudden an opportunity came out of it that you never would have thought of just because somebody saw you doing it. Well, thank y'all for coming on and giving advice. I think it's advice to stuff that anybody could use in any area, but especially horse trainers and people wanting to get started in the horse training industry. And
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
where could somebody, if somebody wanted to put a horse with one of y'all, where could they reach each of y'all at? And then 817 Horse Sales if they want to sell a horse or buy a horse.
Probably 817 Horse Sales would be the easiest way to get any of us, whether it's for horse training or for horse sales. You can go online, and all three of our numbers are on there, along with our secretary. And you could reach any of the three of us about the horse sales or horse training just through that.
And y'all, see, when this comes out, y'all just finished a sale, but is that the last one of the year?
Yes.
That's the last
Yeah.
one of the year. Yes, sir.
Have one in January.
January.
Yep. Start back
Okay.
up in January.
So y'all keep an eye out for 817 Horse Sales and check them out. If you want to get a hold of any of these guys, ask them any questions, buy, sell, train, advice, holler at them. And thank
Appreciate
y'all. We'll see y'all next time.